All right, today we're diving into a huge name in the AI space, Amazon SageMaker. You hear it's supposed to wrangle the incredibly complex process of building artificial intelligence. But is that true? Let's dig in and see what it's all about. Okay, but before we jump into what SageMaker is, let's talk about why it even exists. I mean, we're constantly hearing about how AI is changing the world, right? So why is it still so ridiculously hard for most companies to actually build it and get it out the door? That's the core problem a platform like SageMaker is designed to tackle.
And to really get a handle on the solution, we've got to understand the problem. It all comes down to what people in the industry call the heavy lifting that goes into any machine learning project.
So what exactly is this heavy lifting? Well, think of it less like a single task and more like a grueling, multi-stage marathon. First, you've got to collect and then prepare just massive amounts of data. Then you have to design and build a model. After that, you're looking at burning a ton of computing power to train it. And even then, you still have to figure out how to deploy it so people can actually use the thing. Seriously, any one of those steps could be a whole project by itself.
Okay, so now that we've got a sense of just how tough this is, let's bring in the hero of our story, Amazon SageMaker. The whole idea here is to give you a single, unified platform to handle all of that heavy lifting for you.
So what is it really? At its heart, SageMaker is what's called a fully managed service. Basically, it's an all-in-one toolkit. It's built to give developers and data scientists everything they need to go from a simple idea to a fully working AI model, without getting totally bogged down in managing all the messy infrastructure underneath.
And this slide here lays out that simplified process beautifully. It takes those 4 big separate stages, collecting and preparing data, building the model, training it, and finally deploying it, and pulls them all together into one smooth, cohesive workflow. So, what does that actually get you in the real world?
Right. So in practice, what does simplifying all this actually mean for a team? Let's break down the core benefits.
It really boils down to 3 huge advantages. It makes machine learning way more accessible to more people. It lets you prepare data on a massive scale. And maybe most importantly, it dramatically speeds up the whole development process. Let's take a closer look at each of these.
First up, accessibility. For a long time, machine learning has kind of been this exclusive club for PhDs and specialists. But with tools like integrated development environments, and, this is the big one, no-code interfaces, SageMaker throws the doors wide open. It lets people who aren't deep learning experts start building models and generating valuable predictions.
Second, let's talk data prep. Look, modern AI isn't just about numbers in a spreadsheet anymore. We're talking photos, videos, audio clips, huge, messy, unstructured data sets. A massive bottleneck for any project is just getting all that different data cleaned up and ready for a model. SageMaker is built from the ground up to handle that kind of variety and that kind of volume.
And finally, speed. And honestly, this is where things get really dramatic. A training process for a model that might have taken hours, or let's be real, sometimes days, can now potentially be crunched down to just minutes. And that's not just a small improvement. It completely changes how teams can work. It allows them to experiment, to fail fast, and to innovate at a pace that just wasn't possible before.
So we've covered the what, but now let's talk about the who. A really cool part of SageMaker's design is that it isn't a one-size-fits-all tool. It has specific features for the different roles you find on a modern data team.
First up, we've got the business analyst. These are the folks who really understand the business problems, but they're not necessarily expert coders. For them, the go-to tool in this whole ecosystem is something called SageMaker Canvas.
For an analyst, the absolute game changer here is being able to create powerful predictions without writing a single line of code. They can use a simple visual interface to connect different data sources, train models, and pull out insights that can directly shape business strategy. It's incredibly empowering.
Okay, next up, the data scientist. These are your hands-on builders, the architects. Their world often revolves around coding environments like Jupyter Notebooks, and for them, SageMaker has the Studio Notebook.
For data scientists, it's all about improving productivity. SageMaker streamlines their entire workflow. It helps them manage all their different notebooks and experiments and gives them easy access to all kinds of data, structured, unstructured, you name it, all from one central hub. And finally, let's talk about the software developer. They bring that crucial engineering discipline to the team, focusing on things like automation and reliability. This brings us to the world of MLOps, which is basically machine learning operations.
You see, for a developer, the job isn't done when the model is built. They use the MLOps tools inside SageMaker to automate the entire pipeline, Think CI/CD for AI. They monitor how the model is performing out in the real world, and, this is so important, they can detect problems like performance drift or bias that might creep in over time. It's all about bringing that software engineering rigor to the world of AI.
All right, so after looking at the problem, the benefits, and who it's for, let's just pull back for a second and look at the big picture. What's the ultimate takeaway here?
This quote really nails the core promise. It's all about removing the heavy lifting from each step of the machine learning process to make it easier to develop high-quality models. When you take away all that friction, the path to building great models just becomes fundamentally easier and faster for the entire team.
So, when you boil it all down, SageMaker is really aiming to be that one unified tool for the entire AI journey. And its real magic, I think, lies in how it serves not just one type of expert, but the whole team, from the business analyst all the way to the data scientist and the software developer.
So we'll leave you with this final thought. When powerful tools like this become so much more accessible to teams everywhere, the conversation really starts to shift. It's less about how you build AI, and more about what you build with it. Which leaves us with a great question. What problem will you solve first?